Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on holiday e-marketing strategies. We're just taking a couple of moments to get everyone settled, so please hang tight before we start the broadcast. Thanks for being here. Let's see. If you're having any issues, by the way, with your setup and getting connected, you should be able to click on the left-hand side of your broadcast. There's a Q&A icon. If you click that, a white box will open up on the right-hand side, and you can write your questions there, and we'll be able to see them. Mani, can you see the viewer information on your screen?
What do you mean?
Do you have a box underneath that gives you like statistics about the presentation? I'm just curious.
No, I don't see any of that. I see the holiday e-marketing strategies webinar slide and
okay, no worries. So anybody that's logged on recently, we're just taking a couple of minutes to get everybody settled and logged in. So yeah, we'll start in probably 2 minutes here. Thanks for being here. Just hold tight for 2 minutes. All right, I'm just gonna pop over to the Facebook page just to double check if anybody's asked any questions there real quick.
Good call.
And then after that, we'll start. Let's see. Okay. Okay, no questions there. All right. I think we're probably good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Turning camera on. Hi, everyone.
Yes, let me switch my screen back to camera. Hello, everyone. My name is Jaclyn Hawtin. We're super excited to be presenting to you today on the topic of holiday strategies in e-marketing. I'm the founder of Hawtin Consulting. We're a digital strategy company that focuses on consulting for digital strategy, and we do managed services. So we work with small to mid-sized companies that don't have their own internal marketing departments and manage those services for them. So basically the way this webinar is going to be set up is it's split into 2 different portions. The first half, Mani O'Brien is going to be speaking about content strategy. She is an incredible storyteller and content strategist. And then towards the end, I'm going to go ahead and do a detailed walkthrough of the email marketing platform MailChimp, which is incredibly amazing, and show you how to create your own holiday e-marketing campaign. So without further ado, Mani, please go ahead and take over.
Thanks, Jaclyn. I'm so excited to be working with you finally, and we've talked about collaborating for so long, so I'm really, really thrilled to finally see this come to light. I am broadcasting here from California, and I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen here and get started. Jackie, can you see my presentation okay? Oh, it's still loading.
Okay. Yeah, and actually, I think maybe my face is always big right now. Should I click? I'm going to click. There's a button I haven't seen before. It says you are presenting to everyone. Should I stop presenting? Because it's right on top of stop screen sharing. It's not stop the broadcast. So I think I'm just like static for some reason. I'm going to do that. Okay. I hope it goes well. Sorry, this is our first time using this technology for the webinar. Okay, that did work. Go ahead and talk money.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, everyone, this is our first run at a webinar, so you are along for the ride, and thanks so much for your patience. And we're really excited about this. And just so everyone knows as well, at the end of the presentation, Jaclyn will be sharing a great campaign cheat sheet. And the presentation that we're doing right now is being recorded too, so don't feel like you need to, memorize everything that we're talking about. And like Jaclyn said, throughout the presentation, if you want to type in your answers in the Q&A section, there's a little blue icon on the left-hand side of your screen, and then a white panel will open up on the right. And you can type your questions in there, and we'll try to answer them at the end of the presentation. So let's dive in. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself first. I have an Associate of Arts degree in graphic design from FIDM.
Monty, just to let you know, I can't see your presentation. So, yeah.
Hang on just a second, everyone. Let's get that sorted out. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it was because I still was hogging the screen.
Oh, no problem.
There it is. You see it now.
Okay. Good. I'm glad you told me that. Hang on just a second. It's loading up here. Okay, can you see my screen, Jackie?
Yes, you're good now.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll tell you all a little bit about myself first. Like I said, I have an AA degree in graphic design from FIDM, and also a Bachelor of Arts degree in print journalism with an emphasis on magazine writing from Arizona State University. And I've worked for about 8 years as a professional writer, as both a freelancer and a full-time writer. And I've written content for everything from email marketing, blog strategy, social media, advertising, as well as editorial features on the journalism side. But the majority of the work that I've done is on the corporate side, and it's so fun. So I've worked as a copywriter, content marketer. My current job is full-time I'm an online editor and social media director for a leading creative arts college. And I oversee a team of people who execute all of the social media strategy for the college, and I've run one of their leading blogs, and it's really a blast. I love it. Before I dive into the 7 types of content to engage customers, I thought I'd talk a little bit about why content matters to begin with. And right now, I mean, whether your company, you represent an individual, yourself as an individual, or your company and you're selling a product, a service, or you're trying to share your message, every brand and individual is essentially their own publisher now, and in a sense, their own entertainer. And that's really due to the evolution of social media in the last few years, especially. And the most successful organizations apply the basic principles of journalistic storytelling to engage with their audiences. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So first, I always recommend define the goals of your content strategy. And this is a huge topic that I really can't cover, obviously, in like a 20-minute session, but it's great to just kind of overview some of the basics. So what you're doing when you're creating content, and we're talking specifically about emails right now, is creating content that indirectly advertises your product through applying these sort of storytelling principles. And the goals of creating your content is to drive traffic back to your website, essentially. You're trying to create content that your audience is likely to share across social media, therefore attracting new customers and eyes on your business. And at the end of the day, probably we're all trying to drive sales or attract new clients. Right now, I think we're all aware that it's a very noisy digital world. We are constantly bombarded with information every day across social media, in our inboxes, and so forth. And what I'll tell you is that I believe that quality content really does stand out. People do want to share the content that they're reading, and they do appreciate well-researched, well-written information, especially if it's relevant and personal to them. So from a marketing point of view, if you can incorporate your product into great content that's being shared, it's such a great way to get exposure for your brand. So what I'll say about storytelling is that the principles of storytelling, like I was saying before, are true and no matter what medium you're writing for. So the principles that I'm going to share with you today really come from traditional magazine writing, but you can apply these. These are tried and true methods that engage audiences, and they can be applied on a corporate level to a company's email marketing, your blog or your website content, or curating content for your social media. Maybe it's your Instagram page or your Facebook page, for example. And since we're talking specifically about email strategy today, I just thought I would break it down. As you approach any email content that you're creating, the main goal is probably to drive click-through traffic from your email to your website. So always keep that in mind. And ideally, your customers will also want to share your email with their friends because it's so highly engaging. And before I jump into the 7 types of content to engage, I want to encourage you all to always start by thinking about who your audience is. Have a very specific person in mind for when you're creating content. Know their gender, their age, their education background, where they live, and think about what they're interested in reading. What are their hobbies? Why do they need your service or product to begin with? And what problems do you offer, or I'm sorry, what solutions do you offer to problems that they might have? And how can you highlight those in the form of great content? And we'll break that down with some specific examples here. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A box. And just thought I'd touch base with Jackie. Can you hear everything okay? Is my speed okay?
Yeah, you're doing fantastic. I think just try to have a goal for finishing your half by 11:55.
Oh, perfect. Oh yeah, we can get there. Okay, great. So I'm going to go into the 7 types of content to engage with consumers, and we're going to go into examples for every one of the 7 types of content that are listed here. And what I'd like to highlight is that not all categories of these content require the need to create content totally from scratch. Sometimes it's just curating content or information with proper citations when credit is due. So as a business owner, don't feel like you need to write everything from scratch. I think sometimes that's a little bit overwhelming. And speaking of citations, I did want to give a shout out to a really wonderful podcast by a woman named Grace Bonney. She's the founder of a leading website called designsponge.com. She has this podcast called After the Jump. And a lot of the content that I'm describing within this webinar was inspired by a specific podcast that she had from After the Jump. And then, of course, my other citations are pulling from traditional textbooks, news writing, and reporting for today's media. So with that being said, let's dive into the first type of content that you can create for your blog and your email. So the first type is called a how-to or a DIY post, or also known as a do-it-yourself guide. This is such a common format on the internet right now for all types of businesses. And in short, it's simply a tutorial featuring your product. This could be a recipe, a how-to guide, a best practices guide, and you can create this DIY email or post on your website as either a step-by-step photo essay or a video if you have those types of resources. And I don't want you to feel like you have to be a product-oriented business to create a DIY. For example, I put in here, if you're an accounting firm, you might create a tutorial on how to best organize and categorize your receipts to prepare for tax season for a small business owner. So any sort of topic that you can help teach your audience is really great. So this is an example on the right, homemade healing body butter DIY. This is another example from a blog called Design Love Fest, where she demonstrates how to create a do-it-yourself taco stand. So that's just one example of content to engage. The second type of content I'm going to talk about is a history of post. And these are great. This is a simple essay using credible sources to talk about the history of or the background behind your industry, your product, or a related topic. So for example, if you're a handbag company, you might talk about the evolution of women's handbag styles over the course of time. Or you might talk about the history of fashion over time, something that's related and complementary to the product that you sell. And this information can all be found on the internet with using credible sources and then rewritten in your own words. And they're pretty great, and they're so robust, and it's a really I think a pretty executable piece of content that anyone could probably explore. Another example here is from BuzzFeed.com, and they did a video history of piece, and it shows the transformation of makeup looks over the course of time. And this is the type of content that you could share as the business owner or create yourself, again, if you have those resources. So that's the second type of content, is a history of post. The third type of content to engage customers is a list of resources. And again, this is a really, I think, executable type piece of content, and it's simply a roundup of your favorite resources in a single list themed around a specific topic. And your list should include a brief description and links to where consumers can find more information. And everybody is an expert in their own way. I think for us, Jackie, we might do a list of resources for our customers to talk about our favorite apps that we use to make business easier, or our favorite digital tools.
Definitely.
On the right, here's an example from a blog called Oh Joy, and she's talking about her 10 favorite party pieces. And this is relevant to her because she is an interior designer. It's part of her job, and a graphic designer, so it's relevant to her audience. Here's another great example, though, is, this is an outdoor gear company compiling a list of top hiking destinations. So they're making recommendations to their consumers. It's very indirectly related to the products that they sell, but it's likely to attract eyes from social media and from emails, and would be appealing to their customers.
Yeah, Moni, I'm actually creating a list for nonprofits and NGOs of the best online marketing resources right now. So yeah, this is a fantastic content strategy for sure, which is really valuable to people.
Absolutely, and it establishes your credibility, and you're giving information that's really useful. So people like to share and read that type of content. Here's another example of a list of resources. It's kind of a different take. This is from a leading fashion company, Anthropologie, and they're curating a list of music playlists for their customers.
Nice.
So that's a list of resources. Another type of content to engage is an interview. Now, interviews do take a little bit more time, but this is simply a Q&A with a person of interest that's related to your brand and who your audience would find engaging. So on the right, I've got here an example from Roxy, leading surf and skate brand, global brand, and they're interviewing a couple of their writers who went on a trip to South Africa. Another example is this indie shoe brand, it's really cool, called BC. And they do this series called Hey Girl, Hey. And they're just interviewing women of interest, and they think, who they think their audience might be interested in. And again, this is extracting a very common format from the magazine industry where they're profiling interesting people. So it's a great way to get content for your site, and also to get cross promotion from people who also have strong social media presences and email marketing of their own, who might cross promote your brand through their marketing efforts. Another example of content marketing is a visual tour or a photo essay. Now, this is really important that you have, high quality images to support this type of initiative. But if you've got a great workspace, for example, or you're a very, if you've got some life experience you can share, like for example, that outdoor company might do like a hiking tour, like a visual tour, and it's all very image based. So there's not a lot of writing involved. On the right here is an example from a blog called Apartment Therapy, and they are an interior design blog specializing in high quality photos, but they did a visual tour of this woman Isabel's apartment. She's the founder of a shoe brand called Breyer, and so they just did a photo tour of her interior space, and it's a great way to give people an insight into your workspace if that's really your area of interest. The sixth topic that I'm going to talk about are trend reports. So this is, again, a really common format pulled from the magazine industry that you see all the time. And this is applying the best way to do it is really to take a global trend and then apply it to a local or community level. So for you, Jaclyn, being located in Tempe, you might see something happening on a global level and just talk about how it's happening in the Phoenix area. What this is you're making observations based off of your consumer's interest to pinpoint a trend that you see. And, you're subtly going to incorporate your product into this, like a visual example of a trend report. An example of this is, again, going back to Roxy, they did their own trend report featuring pastels and barely their color for a spring trend that's happening. And of course, I'm sure they incorporated only their own products into this pastels spring trend report, but if you are, let's say, an accessories brand, you could pull a trend report that showcases both clothing and then only your accessories to something complementary. But again, just kind of a fun visual sort of example of content that doesn't take too much writing either. Finally, link lists. Link lists are such a great and easy type of content to create for your consumers. Similar to resources roundup, this is a great list of resources or links that you found of information that might exist outside of your world. So this could be, if you're just kind of like thinking about what your customers might be thinking of or reading around the internet, just compiling those on a regular basis and sharing links that you love. So if you're a sustainable beauty brand, you might find interesting articles out there about new innovative textiles that are coming out, or just just related links that might be of interest to your consumer. So I hope that makes sense. This is an example from a leading blog, Cupcakes and Cashmere, and she's really known for her link lists that come out every Friday. So if you want a great example of this, I suggest you go check out her blog. She does a really great job with link lists. So to recap, on the right, we talked about how to DIY posts, history of, list of resources, an interview, visual tour, trend report, and link lists. So if you want to approach this for your own company, I recommend kind of thinking of these category buckets on the right, and then to create content, consider the questions that you see here on the left. So when you're trying to think of content, first I would think about what problems can you help solve for your customers, or what can you help them learn about? What types of content would help establish your credibility? What resources can help relieve a problem for your customers? And what expert might be interesting to your customers, like who would they be interested in reading about? And when you write down all of the answers to this question, then you can look at the category buckets on the right and think about how to execute in some of these categories. And I hope that helps to for the small business owner trying to brainstorm how to execute content for an email. So we're going to dive into an example that Jaclyn's going to walk you through. And for this example, Jaclyn and I partnered up with a good friend of ours, Mia Mayweather, from a wonderful blog called Mayday Glow. And the purpose of Mayday Glow is to highlight companies that use renewable, sustainably harvested, good-for-you health and beauty products. And Mia's audience includes women ages 25 to 40 who are urban dwellers, educated, and interested in sustainability and green beauty. So we defined the focus of the email for her to promote green beauty products for holiday gifting. And the problem that we're trying to help her readers solve is for them to share their passion for green beauty products with their loved ones. So this is the content that we've written for her. And I'll go ahead and read it, and I'll kind of break down the philosophy behind the copy here. But says, Dear Jane, this holiday season, why not share your passion for sustainable beauty products with your loved ones? I've rounded up 7 of the best green beauty products that are not only eco-friendly and good for you, but seriously effective. From low-cost DIY gift ideas to luxury products, start planning your green holiday shopping list now before the holidays are in full swing. And then there's a button there that would, so this would be delivered via email, and then the button would click over to her website. And when you're writing your email, try to accomplish these things. You want to build connection and establish yourself immediately to, remind people of why they're receiving your email. Build the problem for them, and then also solve it immediately. You're going to build interest using minimal copy, build suspense by making it feel time sensitive, and transfer momentum immediately. And this is sort of the breakdown of the content that we've written. So, we're building an implied connection and problem with recognizing that Mayday Glow readers care about natural beauty products, want to share this passion with loved ones. You're building the solution to that problem by offering these 7 resources, building suspense by saying, get this now before the holidays are in full swing, and then transferring momentum over to their website to encourage people to click through.
Money, time, just to let you know.
Absolutely, and this is my last slide, so it's perfect timing. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jackie. Let's see here. Do I stop sharing? I can't remember.
Yeah, you stopped sharing. You did, so we're good now. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen to get back to my presentation. So just take 1 second, guys. Send to everyone. Okay. I think everyone can see that. Can you see that, Moni?
Yes, I can. Looks good.
Okay, so welcome again. My name is, oops, just making sure my buttons work. 1 second, guys.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, I need to be able to switch screens. Okay, cool. My name's Jaclyn Hawtin. I have over 10 years in digital strategy and a master's in global technology. My marketing strategies have doubled and tripled profits for multiple companies and organizations, and I currently serve as a mentor for an incredible organization called House of Genius for startups and entrepreneurs. Fun fact, I once skydived with the professional skydiving team from Spain. Okay, so what I'm going to cover today is going to be broken down into 6 steps. We're going to talk about why email marketing is a good idea in general. I'm going to go over the platform MailChimp and talk about why I think it's the best email marketing platform out there. I'm going to talk a bit about how to import your contact list into the system, how to create a campaign, send the campaign, and how reporting works. Okay, so why is email marketing a good idea? First of all, it yields an average 4,300% return on investment for businesses in the US. And this is from the Direct Marketing Association. It's an average for businesses across the US, and it's a pretty amazing return on investment. So that in and of itself is a good reason to invest in email. Companies that use email to nurture leads generate 50% more sales-ready leads and a 33% lower cost. These leads on average produce a 20% increase in sales opportunities compared to non-nurtured leads. That makes sense because if you're consistently communicating to your clients or your customers, they're going to trust you more, so you're going to make more sales. Small business owners estimate that getting an extra hour in their day back from doing their own marketing is worth an average of $273 an hour. And you can imagine here also that if your specialization isn't digital marketing, it might be a better investment for you to hire somebody else, an employee or an outside person, than you spending your time having to brainstorm and teach yourself those skills. For every $1 spent on email marketing, the average return on investment is $44.25, which is also pretty amazing. 44 times what you put in.
That's amazing. I know, these are great numbers.
So in terms of conversion rates, on email, they're 3 times higher than social media, which is pretty amazing, with a 17% higher value in the conversion. And 70% of people say they always open emails from their favorite companies. Email's nearly 40 times better than both Facebook and Twitter at acquiring customers. So that's a really important piece of information when you're trying to consider whether or not to invest in social media versus email marketing, especially if you're first starting your company and you have a limited budget and you're trying to figure out where to put that funding. To start, my recommendation always is to come up with a solid email marketing strategy first, and then really start branching out and hitting the social media and SEO at a later point, because this will bring a much bigger return on investment in the long run for you. And marketers consistently rank email as the single most effective tactic for awareness, acquisition, conversion, and retention. And Moni, you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think there is kind of a notion that email marketing is dead. Everyone's always talking about social media, but email marketing is just tried and true for no matter your audience. Absolutely.
So because email marketing is so important, I've experimented with all of the top email marketing platforms, and I've come to find that MailChimp is the absolute best. And by the way, I've never worked for MailChimp, and they're not paying me to say this. I'm not making any money off of it. It's just, they're an amazing company, and I really appreciate the incredible intuitive interface that they've designed. They really, they think about things before you do. So it's that kind of company. Okay, so what does it do for you? Basically allows you to send email marketing campaigns. You can automate messages, which means you can have a strategy where you maybe are delivering a class to people, and upon somebody subscribing to a particular list or a particular class, it automates the emails over the course of a 2-month period, once a week, and you don't have to touch it. So that's what automated messaging means. And you can create extremely targeted campaigns through the process of segmentation, which means you can have a list with different variables, different pieces of information about the individuals on that list, and then send campaigns just to a portion of the list at a time by picking those different pieces of information. So this is an incredibly effective way to communicate specifically, to have specific conversations with your clients that might be doing business with you in different ways, instead of, just sending one blast out to everyone. So there are 2 things you need to know when you are doing email marketing, the rules and regulations. One is that you always have to make sure that your list is opt-in only. So you don't send emails to people that did not agree to be on your list. Reason being, if they flag you for spam, your account might get shut down. There's a number of reasons for that, which I won't get into now, but it's just bad. Always include your contact information on every email and a way for your readers to unsubscribe. Nobody likes getting messages over and over again, even if they've chosen to be on your list and they decided, I want to get out of this. Make sure you have that ability for them to unsubscribe. And it's required by MailChimp. So if you don't include it on the email, they can also shut your account down. So make sure you do that. Okay, now I'm going to transition my screen into my MailChimp account so we can go through a sample campaign. Just one second.
Doing a great job, Jackie. I love that you presented. And
I'm trying to talk fast so that I can include everything.
No, it's good. It's perfect. And if anyone has questions, again, feel free to type them in on the right-hand side. And I love MailChimp too. I've worked with so many different types of email marketing services. It's just the best for the small business owner too. It's so user-friendly.
Yeah, and it actually, let's see. Oh, I just wanted to remind you guys, if you weren't here when we described how to get the Q&A box for questions, it's on the left-hand side of the screen. It's hidden unless you hover your cursor over it. So where the video screen is that you're watching, just hover your cursor over there, click on the blue Q&A icon, and then you can ask questions on the right. Okay, so over here is an example of an email list. When you create a MailChimp account, you see up here is the list icon. And basically, you can create as many lists as you want. And when you import your subscribers, you go to this section and you can either add subscribers individually, which takes forever. You don't want to do that. unless you just have one, or you can import them. So you just click import, and you have a couple of different options here. So you can either import by importing an actual file, an Excel file, .csv or a .txt. Probably the majority of you would be using a CSV. Or you can copy and paste directly from Excel as well. So if you have thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of emails, you're going to want to import the file. But if you only have a few hundred people, you can probably just copy and paste from here. The most important thing with this is that you want to make sure that your columns of information are labeled exactly the way that you want that information to be displayed within MailChimp. And they already have a few column names set up. So like for first name, it's first name. For last name, it's last name, that sort of a thing. But you can import as many as you want if you have really specific information about your clients. So I'm just going to go back real quick. So this is what I'm talking about. So email address in MailChimp is called email address. First name is called first name. And so if you have more columns on your list, they'll show up down here in this area. You just have to select import them as whatever you called it. So that's basically how you import. So now once you have your list set up and you want to create a campaign, you just go to the campaign section and click create new campaign. Then it will bring you to this page. And the first thing you have to do is to click the list that you want to send the campaign to, because you can have multiple lists here. So a lot of times people just send the entire list. That's probably what you will do to start. I've clicked here to just build a segment by pasting in an email. So we can go in and edit that segment. I'm just doing a test here, so I'm sending it to one of my test Gmail accounts. Click build segment, and it's done. By the way, if you use this route, you have to make sure that the emails you paste here are already in your email list, otherwise it won't work. And before, when I talked about sending to only a portion of your list based off of a variable of information, you can click here. And we don't have any save segment set up. Oh, actually, it's referencing this one right here. So you can do that as well. So we're just going to leave it on this, and then we're going to go next. Okay, so it brings you to this page here where you basically have to fill out the general information for sending the email. So on the top here, this is just the name of your campaign that you'll recognize in your report section and for your own stuff. So nobody sees this, so you can name it whatever you want. Down here is your email subject line. So we're going to talk a little bit about subject lines because they're really, really important. So first of all, there's this little option to add emojis, which is kind of a new development. They don't show up in every single email client, but they pretty much do always on cell phones or mobile phones. And I think over 50% of emails now being opened up on mobile phones. So use these because they attract attention and they'll definitely stand out in the list. People will likely open them more often. The other thing is you can incorporate a merge tag here. This piece of code basically says enter the first person's name at the beginning of this. So this would, if this was, I was sending this to Mani and she was on my list, it would say Mani, 7 green beauty holiday gift ideas for you. So it's personalized, and you can also use other merge tags that are reference the person's address, like maybe the city name. If you have like a restaurant or something, you could say best restaurant in Phoenix, you know, whatever city you live in. So merge tags are really great to use. And I've included on your campaign cheat sheet a few tips for email subject lines, so you can go back and read over these later, but I'm just going to give you a couple of tips now. Avoid sales or overused words like free, help, or % off, because a lot of times email clients like Gmail will flag those as spam and they won't actually come through. So you want to avoid those. Include localization. That's what I was just talking about with the merge tags. Use different subject lines. Meaning if you do a consistent campaign every month, like a newsletter, you don't want to use the same title every single month over and over again because it's boring. People want the title to be more related to what's in the newsletter itself, so be a little creative. Keep your subject line short. 50 characters or fewer is better. This is a little bit long here, but you can play with it. And tone down promotional emails. Okay, so below this is your from name. I always recommend that if you're working for a company and you're communicating on behalf of the company and it's a consistent person doing that communication, if you can sort of brand yourself as that person and include your name here, your emails they're going to be more successful because people relate obviously more personally to other people, not companies. So if you can include your name and the company name, that will work really well. You agree, Mani?
I agree. It's so interesting how things have become less and less formal over time. And with the, again, evolution of the internet and social media, people are really opting in for more personalization, and they don't care for the formality of interacting with a company. So it's just interesting how that's evolved over time.
I mean, it psychologically really does make sense. But I think on the other hand, if you're an individual that is representing a company, they know that that person is consistently hearing all of the responses. And in that context, you trust them more, right?
Of course.
If it's a bunch of like random people doing campaigns, then you don't know if they actually heard you. It's like disconnected. So I think there's something to that. Okay, so below that is your from email address. So you want to keep this consistent, and it should be going back to this, your personal name at the company whatever your domain is, .com, .org, .net. The rest of the items here, just leave alone because they're for more advanced users. And then the only thing that I mentioned to include when you have set up your account, if you integrated your Google Analytics, if you have a website set up, definitely put something recognizable here so that when you look at your analytics data later, you can see how many clicks were actually driven to your website through the email campaign. So after that, we go into the template choice. I'm not going to go into this now because I don't have time. We're just going to stick with the basic single column template, of which you can do so much with, but they have really cool themes you can explore, and you can save templates and save campaigns and recreate new campaigns off of those. So I encourage you to explore this section. Okay, so for the design itself, basically I'm going to start from the top and go down. So it's always recommended that you do a short little statement up here, 7 green beauty holiday gift ideas, so that people can see what the email is about right away. Secondly, you want to make your branding consistent with whatever the landing page and organization you're emailing from is. So if you go to Mia's website, you'll see that this is the header of her website. So when people get this email, they see the picture, they'll know automatically, oh, I read this blog, this is this website. Going into the content area, we're going to go into those merge tags again. So you see here, you have dear F name. It's basically this piece of code is referencing the first name of the contact on your list. And if you click down right here, you'll see there's a number of different merge tags you can use. And usually you'll probably stick to the first name for most things, but you can get more complex in your localization there. I have included another piece of code on your cheat sheet, of which I'll send you an email after this event for you to download from my website. But it includes a little bit of a more complex piece of code that allows you to have a, to basically either say, Dear Mani, or just dear, comma, and the content. And that's really helpful if you have a list where a lot of your contacts don't have first names. You just didn't collect that information. So you do have access to that piece of code as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about is when you copy and paste your content into your email campaign, especially if you copy and paste it from like a Word document, it carries over invisible code with it, and that can cause your email to malfunction. So you want to convert your content in a tool that MailChimp actually provides, and I've included that link also on the cheat sheet that I'm going to send you an email about, and so it will convert it for you. So just make sure you copy your content there first and then copy and paste it into your email, and it will work correctly. Another thing, if you don't have access to a Photoshop or a graphic design program, I've included a button creator that's online, that's free. And that's how I created this button right here, so that you can have a stylized button for people to click through. The other thing I wanted to mention is that whenever you're creating a link, so this button here is a link. It goes to Mia's website. But right underneath it, I put the same link.
Uh-oh, Jackie, are you there?
Text integrated, then people won't see the links right away. So you don't want to miss that opportunity for them to click through to your website. So make sure you always have the image and the link set up correctly in the text. Pictures are good. Just make sure, like I was saying before, your whole communication doesn't rely on the images to get across what you're getting across. It's done within the text itself. Okay, what else? Okay, so at the bottom here, you'll see I've set up a little bio with Mia's picture. And oh my gosh. Can you see me, Monty? Can you still see my screen and hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Everything's working perfectly.
I thought my connection
It
was
cut out for just a second, but then you came back to us.
Okay, cool. Good. Sorry about that. So down in the footer, you'll see we have Mia's picture and a little brief bio and a link to her website. It's really nice to personalize your messages and consistently all of your messages. So it's like you're having a conversation. I recommend doing that in your email campaigns. Towards the bottom, all of the themes that MailChimp puts out have this little area that integrates social options. These are really cool. Not every single social account is here, but the big ones are. And there's a section for email and website, so you can just integrate those links here. You can delete them by just clicking the minus button, and you can see it updated over there right away. And save and close that. And then this footer content section down here, you can see there's like a lot of code here. It's basically all of the stuff I talked about, MailChimp requiring people to be able to unsubscribe and including your address and your information to be verified. That is all referenced here from your account settings that you originally set up when you created the account. So basically, don't touch this. It's set up correctly. It will function. And when we see the final test, you'll see the information filled in and how that works. Okay, so once everything looks good, you're going to want to go over here. You can go into preview mode. You can look over there and say, okay, that's looking nice. You can see right here that code turned into actual information. So it's functioning correctly. Click out of that, and then we can send a test email. So you can send it to whatever email address you want. You just click send, and then we're going to go over here and refresh. Wait for it to come through. Be just a second. It usually takes about a minute. Okay, one new. Okay, so here we go. You can see all the little emojis right here. And when you do a test, it's going to say test first name. When you actually run the real campaign, your client's first name will be put here. So then you can click through to it. And you see, okay, everything's looking nice. There's the message. Let's see if the buttons work. We'll click on those. Just to double check, you always want to make sure all of your links work. Okay, so that worked. Let's see if this link works. Yep, that worked too. And I linked this big picture too. So put as many links of images and stuff as you can, because the more opportunities people have to get to the landing page you're trying to send them to, the better. Okay, so that functioned. And then if everything looks good through your test, the last step is to go next. You're going to come to this final page, and as long as all of your green circles have checkboxes or check marks in them, ignore this section. That's a more advanced feature, social cards. You can schedule your campaign. And we're just going to say, hypothetically, yeah, we'll schedule it for 7 o'clock or November 7th at 4 o'clock. And the rest of these are paid features if you had a paid account for more advanced options. So we'll ignore those. So we're going to schedule it. And there we did it. We scheduled the campaign. So hopefully this brief overview of creating a MailChimp e-marketing campaign gave you enough information to do it, to do your own, to do your own holiday campaign. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my presentation. So stop screen sharing, stop presenting. Just 1 second. I have so many screens open. Almost there. Okay. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So I just have a couple of more slides. So in terms of, let me make this big so that it's not distracting. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah, love it. Perfect.
Okay, so unlike print and traditional direct marketing, email marketing allows you to track how many people opened your email campaigns and see exactly what they clicked. Watching your status is sometimes a bit obsessive, but the reports give you a lot of valuable information to help you improve your campaign going forward. Since we don't have a lot of time left today, I'm not going to go into the detailed reporting features, but their reporting interface is pretty incredible. And it really enables you to improve your strategy ongoing, month after month, year after year. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we are offering this holiday season a few holiday email promotional packages. If you don't have the time to do it yourself, although this webinar was intended for you to be able to learn how to conduct the email yourself, but if you don't have time, me and Mani will be offering these 3 packages. So the first one is Rudolph Start. It's $147 and basically will provide an hour of content strategy consulting to figure out what your campaign should be about and how to reach your target demographic in the best way to promote your company throughout the holiday season. And then we'll go through and we'll help you set up your MailChimp account in the correct way and get your campaign going there. The second level package is the ELF's Workshop, which is $675. In here, we're basically going to do an entire campaign for you. On top of what we include in Rudolph Start, I will go in and I'll make sure your contact lists are integrated correctly into your MailChimp account. We'll actually write the content for you that's targeted to your target demographic and whatever your goal is for this particular campaign. And we'll design a fully responsive campaign for you for mobile and desktop. We'll set it up and we'll launch it, and we'll guide you through the entire process. And then our big package is Santa's Sleigh, and it's basically the Elf's Workshop, but for a 3-tier email campaign. So it could either be a campaign that you're doing in sequence, like you start with one and then you remind people, and it may be like you're doing an event, or it could be like 3 different campaigns selling different products or whatever those might be. On top of having 3 campaigns, we'll also write landing page content for either your website or wherever you're sending people to, if it's a Facebook page or whatever that might be, so that your messaging matches the messaging within the email campaign itself. We'll do custom graphic design for this campaign. We'll also do A/B subject line testing so that you're getting the best conversions for open rates on your campaign. And we'll also set up an email capture on your website so that when people go to your website, they can sign up for your email list, and their information will be captured automatically into your MailChimp account so that you can market to them further at a later date. And in this package, we'll also go over with the analytics and reports in detail with you so that you can find the best strategy and learn from it moving forward. So last slide. I just want to thank you all for being here. Here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out to either me or Mani. And I also have the link down here at the bottom of the page with the resource bundle I kept referencing. It has the campaign cheat sheet with all of the links to the different tools I was referencing in my presentation, as well as MailChimp's standard Get Started PDF that is really valuable to go through. It's not too long, but it includes a lot of valuable information. So at this point, if anybody has questions, we are going to go ahead and start answering them. I'm going to leave this slide up just for a couple of minutes so that people can copy down any of the contact information or link, and then I'll switch back to my screen.
That's perfect. We actually do have two questions that came in from our friend Mia, and collaborator. And I do think, so the two questions are, and I can help to answer one of them, and I'm curious what your take is, Jackie. So she asked, can you just quickly go over the analytics code that you entered on MailChimp? And I think to clarify, I think she had some confusion with the Google Analytics integration. And I do want to emphasize that regardless of whether you have Google Analytics set up for your website, MailChimp does provide very highly robust analytics for how the email performed itself. And they measure everything from how many people open the email to how many people click through. And the Google Analytics integration is just an added like more robust set of analytics you can add.
So basically, what the Google Analytics integration does is it sounds really fancy, but it's just connecting what happens on MailChimp to your analytics account. And it's pretty simple. When you go into Google Analytics, you have a website, you're tracking where particular traffic is coming to your website. Basically, there will be a section there that will have the name that you named in the email creation. I think I named it Mayday Glow _ MailChimp. And normally in Google Analytics, it'll be a link. It will say like, oh, I got a visit from Facebook.com / something something, because somebody, maybe from an event page for this event, somebody clicked through it. But instead of seeing a link from a website, you'll just see that piece of code that you created in your Google Analytics account in the section where you see where traffic is coming from. That's how it connects. But you have to enter your Google Analytics information in MailChimp for it to be able to be allowed to send that information over to Google Analytics. So that's how that functions. But yeah, the analytics that are embedded within MailChimp itself are incredible. It not only measures, I mean, one of the coolest features from my perspective is the page where you can see visually your campaign, and then it shows how many people have clicked on each of the links in the campaign. So it has these little boxes with these percentages, and it's just a visual representation to show you like a quick glimpse. You can tell in a second which button you created in that campaign converted the best. And over time, you know, say you sent out 25 campaigns over 3 months, you're going to start to learn like, oh, this position in this color with this wording is the one that works best, right? So it's really, really valuable. And then the other thing I really like about it too is that it analyzes your campaigns over time and weighs them against each other. So you can really see your trends. You can see if you're improving or if you're not improving. And they also have an integrated function where you can compare your statistics to the others in the industry that you're in. So you have an option when you create the account to put what industry am I in? And then you can measure yourself against everybody else and say, oh, okay, am I performing well or not? So yeah, it's an incredibly powerful interface.
Love it. The other question that Mia had was, how often do you recommend clients to send out emails? And oh gosh, there's so many answers to that question from my perspective. I think that, and Jackie, I'm curious about what your research says. I think that we try to limit emails to once a week. I think more than that is a little excessive unless you are following up regarding like an event RSVP or something very specific. And even with maybe introductory, when you first capture an email subscriber, I think it's very important to email that person right away. And if you've got like an introductory series of emails, emailing them right away. But even if I have those automated emails, I try to not set it up so that they're receiving more than one email from me per week. But I suppose it really depends on your industry and your business goals and that sort of thing. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, you're right. But it is highly dependent on the first interaction and the level of expectation that's been set originally. So, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of sites that I've been to that when you subscribe to their email list, they specifically tell you, and that's what you should do. When you do, your subscription process should deliver the information regarding how you're going to communicate with your clientele, right? And a lot of times the best way to do that is to segment your list and have different frequencies for different types of customers. And I'm actually just going through that process right now with segmenting out my list, because I just haven't had time up to this point to segment it out. So I'm trying to, section off my current clients versus people that are interested versus people that are past clients versus people that have reached out to me online, so just a lot of different channels. And some of those people I could probably email up to 2 or 3 times per week, people that are really close to you, that you interact with on a regular basis. You know them so well that you know what they need, right? And as long as the content that you're sending them is something that is providing value, even if it's once every 2 to 3 days, if you know that for a fact, then it's okay to send at that frequency. But it really comes down to making sure that you have a strong enough relationship and the expectations have been set in the correct way so that you're only delivering value and you are never, ever bothering an individual. Because obviously, if it gets to that point, you're like harassing somebody, they're going to take off. There's no point of having that relationship. So, yeah, I think it really depends on your strategy when it comes down to it. But
Absolutely.
on average, yeah, once a week, if you just have like a general list, you haven't done all the segmentation and everything, and you're sort of starting out and you're like, okay, I would recommend sending 3 emails per month. 1 being your monthly newsletter, and then 2 marketing emails that are like showing your offers, and then maybe 1 that is highlighting your accomplishments. I think that's a good trio for like a small business first starting out. Newsletter, accomplishments, sales pitch, 3 a month.
Love it. That makes sense to me. And I think something that I just extracted from what you discussed, I mean, it's just kind of like trying to personalize as much as possible and make it really relevant to your audience is so key. And it is a shame to disregard the people who do want to hear from you more frequently. I mean, they're like your most important email subscribers. So if you can execute something more frequently, then I mean, by all means, go for it, as long as you're providing a value, like you were saying. So
yeah, definitely. And I'm curious, in your current position, Moni, are you creating any of those content pieces that you described in your side of the presentation? Are you working on anything?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, every single day we're creating content that we described, whether it's we typically will publish on the blog, we'll use our blogs and our websites as the publishing platform to create the types of contents that I described. But then the way that you drive traffic back to that piece of content is different depending on whether we're promoting it through social media or through email marketing. And I mean, it's rare that we'll actually create the entire content and put it just in the body of the email, because typically we're trying to just entice the email subscribers to click through to come visit our website. So yeah.
I'm curious, the same question that we were just asked in terms of frequency on a monthly basis for email campaigns, what would be your recommendation on those types of content being promoted, say on a blog or a website per month?
Oh, right. I think that we actually, I wouldn't create, if I'm promoting a specific type of content, let's say it's a DIY, like we described, I probably would only promote that once via email. I wouldn't include that. I mean, if I'm sending out more than 1 email, I might make it like the featured subject of an email one time, and then maybe a secondary subject, maybe. But it's rare that we would promote it more than once via email, whereas with social media, you might promote it several times over the course of the month, because that's so much more disposable, like a tweet. That help answer your question?
Yeah, I'm curious though, on the website itself, say I was going to do a history piece, like you mentioned, a photography piece, and what was another one?
Like a list of resources.
List of resources. So for a small business, would you recommend having a goal for promoting the company, doing like 3 pieces per month, or what would be like a reasonable number that would show a consistent return on investment for small to mid-sized businesses, but it's not so outrageous that they don't have time or money to do it? Like, what would you say?
Right. Okay. So someone starting out, I think just like you're describing with emails, I think it's just all about setting expectations and being consistent. If you can only get out one great, robust blog post per month, make it great and set it up so that customers can expect that great, wonderful piece of content per month and make a big deal out of it. If you can do something as frequently as weekly, make it a specific day of the week. Tell people that you're going to send out, it's every Tuesday, it's Tips Tuesday, and you're going to send out your favorite list of resources and stick to that and stick to the consistency in your messaging to your public. I think those
I like that.
Yeah.
Tips Tuesday. I think I'm going to take
totally. Tuesday, Flashback Friday, Throwback Thursday. I could go on and on, but I mean, there's really, it's like the Wild West right now with digital marketing. And that's the message that I think I hear most frequently is what you just described, just having a plan, sticking to it, setting the expectations and just committing to whatever that plan is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, does anyone have any more questions?
Last chance.
Last chance.
This is so fun, Jaclyn.
Yes, thank you for participating. Thank everyone for being here. Thank you. And just so you guys know, oh, sorry, Monty, go ahead.
Go ahead. Let me just talk over you. I was just saying thank you to all of our viewers and for everyone supporting us in our first collaboration together. This was really fun.
Yes. You are very cool. If you have any questions at a later point, please feel free to reach out to either of us at our contact information I had on the screen before. If you haven't subscribed for my email list, you can go ahead and do that on my website, hawtinconsulting.com. And when you're there, I'll be sending out an email later on today with the link to the resources bundle so that you can access those PDFs. But you need to be on my email list in order to get that email. So that's why I'm just letting you know ahead. If you don't want to stay on it, that's fine. You can unsubscribe, but you can always send me an email too if you just want me to send it directly to you. But feel free to reach out and contact with me, and that information will be posted on my website for you. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.